Hello, good people of YouTube. Welcome to a video that is going to be going over quite what I believe to be an exciting cosmic or celestial event on the 18th of November 2023. This is for all signs. So sit back and relax and let's enjoy the little slideshow. So on Saturday, November the 18th of this year, this is the year of our Lord 2023, there's going to be a Sun-Mars conjunction in the sign of Scorpio. And I am kind of called to make this video because it resonates with me very powerfully. And so even though I'm not a Scorpio, I will tell you why. So here's a bit of background information. Okay, so this day, the 18th of November, a Sun-Mars conjunction will occur. So Scorpio is a sign that is a fixed water sign, and it's quite reserved and silent. So it's a sign of mystery, hidden things, secret keeping, trust, secrets being exchanged, darkness. It's volatile, it's tumultuous. It can even be a little bit unpredictable, or people who can be quite cunning, very clever in a certain way. So seductive as well, very intense, intense life force energy can be emitted from them. I'm convinced Scorpios have a very interesting electromagnetic field that they radiate. So I was said, expect some serious emotional responses to your surroundings. Now, the effects of this is going to last uh, quite a while, so about 2 years, the next time this conjunction takes place. So precisely, I believe, will be in the sign of Capricorn, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, it is what it is. But okay, Mars, what is Mars? Mars is the planet of war. It gives us energy, motivation. He's the ruler of debts, real estate, our enemies. Okay, he rules fire, taking action, violence, obviously. And he rules our blood and bone marrow. Okay, he rules our marrow. So he's quite important. He rules blades, knives, things like that. Sun grants us life naturally. Most religions of ancient times are revolve around sun worship. Sun is our vitality and status in the world. Sun is the planet of fairness, authority, okay? People in charge, people in power, leaders, things like that. So this can have an impact on our careers and our reputations. You'll see some people maybe fall from power, some people climb to power. So it really, really depends on the chart. So why is this such an important event? So, if you look back, if you've gotten readings from me, you know that some people's charts, I focused in on a particular lunar eclipse. There was a total lunar eclipse that took place last spring on May 16th, 2022. There was a total lunar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio at 25 degrees. It was conjunct the South Node, K2, of course. So think back to last spring and think about if anything particular occurred. So if anybody had this type of placement about, let's say, 20 to 25, 25 to 29 degrees, so 20 to 29 degrees or 19 to 29 degrees Scorpio, especially personal planet or the ascendant, if anything occurred, okay, so the people that I've been reading for, they have said like, oh, this happened, it was awful, it was hard to survive this, that, the other, but they got through it somehow. And we've wrapped up that cycle of eclipses on the 28th of this year in Taurus. So, the significance of this conjunction is it's in the same sign. It's in the same lunar mansion nakshatra. It's actually at the same degree, believe it or not. So it's a little bit shocking. And so the reason I feel called to make this video is for several reasons. I love the month of November. I love the sign of Scorpio. I think it's great. I just have a good time this time of year, every year. And when I get asked what's your sign, I'm jokingly like, please stop asking me my big three. It's Canadian dollar, US dollar, euro. I'm like always joking around. I'm like, it's the dollar sign. Don't ask me these things. But I'm a Vishaka nakshatra at this exact degree. So this is why I thought that's actually kind of crazy. It's like speaking to me. So for those of you who are on Patreon, I'm going to do a deep dive of Vishaka Nakshatra because I like the lunar mansions and I can flavor it a little bit. So we're going to have like a little course in the next couple of weeks. And then I know that some of my patrons are studying nakshatras in their own time. So I'm going to just spit out a video on each one of them, okay? But we'll start with this one just because it's topical, even though it's the middle one. So Vishaka is the 16th nakshatra. Its symbol is the triumphant arch or a potter's wheel. It's the star of focus, power, achievement. Its Shakti, its power is to make manifest, to achieve something. It's the overcomer, the unconquered, the unbeatable. So it's effectively people who are victorious, people who are winners. Okay, they're incredibly determined to the point of derangement. Okay, they don't make sense. When they want something, they want it. If they want it today and they speak it to you, they wanted it done yesterday. It's already late if they're telling you about it. So extremely driven and extremely focused. The mantra that I have for my life as this star is what now? What now? Because my mother always said to me, you always pick difficult things. That's just your nature, So I'm a very like warlord like energy. And Vishaka also means forked or branched. So one of the things is it is in the middle and it's split, right? And then it also, some people believe it has a dual deity, Indra and Agni. So we'll go more into that on Patreon. But basically, if you are scattered, if you have Vishaka placements and you don't focus, you don't pick something and just do it, just commit to it, you will basically suffer in life because you've come here to achieve something. You can't achieve anything if you're not focused. Take dating, for example. Say you want to have a wife, you want to get married, you want to take a wife, but you date 5 girls, you see one this week, one that week. Well, that's not the way to do it. You want a wife, you decide you want a wife, you pick one and commit. Let that decision be your decision. You have to see your decision through. That's a very Vishaka nature. So people who have Vishaka, say, yeah, Venus Vishaka, you can't decide in your love life. Sun or 10th Lord or Vishaka, you have to pick a career. Just choose it and give it your best shot. Like, just give it your best shot. If Mars and Vishaka, you get in a fight with someone, it's like, did I win? I don't know. I gave my best shot, but give it your best shot. So you have to kind of like just really go for it with true grit, true determination, even though it doesn't make much sense. It's also called the turmeric colored or golden colored. It's people who are known to have like brightness about them or bright appearance. So it's like a bright star. So you can see it correlates a lot to winning and overcoming. Now, the shadow side of that is some people will win at any and all cost, okay? Even if they trample on others or they're dishonorable, and that's not all right, obviously, to each their own. So with this conjunction, now we're going to look through all the signs and see, hey, what does that mean for you? Where does that take place? Kicking it off with the first sign, of course, Aries. So Aries is going to have it pretty intense, if not the most, maybe the most transformational out of all of the signs, because it's in the 8th house of sudden events. Highlighted sudden events, great changes. Okay, the 8th house deals in trust. It's a deeply psychological house. So you'll see people who have malefics in the 8th house, they have trust issues usually, or their trust has been broken, right? So if you have 4th Lord in the 8th, maybe your mother broke your trust, or it's hard for you to be happy. If it's the 5th, maybe a lover, or the 7th, it was a partner, a business partner. So with this conjunction, you can now overcome those things. You can now put them to rest, like beat it once and for all. The 8th house is all sudden events. So this is the thing. Mars rules your ascendant ruler, your Lagna Lord, which is your physical form, and it goes into the 8th house. So one thing I will suggest is to definitely be very, very cautious around high risk activities. If you're going zip lining or biking, hiking, wear proper footwear. Don't give way to infection and simple preventable things like cold. Wear a helmet. Heed, like listen to the instructions. Be very careful, because if the ruler of your chart goes in the 8th house, it tends to sometimes, in some cases, tends to make people a little bit accident prone. If you're currently dating and things suddenly break and that connection breaks and you don't know, that person ghosts you or they don't talk to you anymore, let it go. Okay. If it doesn't survive this transit, it's all right. It wasn't meant for you. Okay. So because it's the 5th Lord in the 8th house as well. So if you're also trying for a child, you might need some kind of maybe clinical intervention, perhaps, or something like that. But you can experience serious breakthroughs, because the 8th house is serious. It's very deep. It's no nonsense. It's things that we can't see. It's the house of surgery, things that are hidden beneath the earth. You might go into your crawl space or basement and find something kind of interesting. Also, if you're dating, you might end up meeting somebody who has a higher background or socioeconomic status than yourself. But it's a very interesting transit. I think Aries risings stand and moon signs tend to, they will have kind of an upper hand to really transform their lives in a really big way. So if there's something that's been plaguing you your entire life, this transit is the one that can kind of just end it once and for all. If you wanted to break a habit or pick up a habit, that can definitely now happen. Also, it's eighth ruler in the eighth house. So hopefully you are able to find the stamina, the energy, and the endurance to go after what you want. It's also extremely passionate because the eighth deals with the results of sex and it's very energetic. So maybe you become more interested in things like tantra or kundalini yoga, or just raising your energy in your actual body, like feeling more stamina, feeling more energized, less lethargic, less sluggish. So you might invest more in that kind of self improvement or something like that, and change anything that's kind of held you back before. Okay. And if you really commit, then it is possible that these habits last for years to come. For Taurus, it's in the seventh house of business partners, all partnerships, all relationships. See, I didn't update my file, but all relationships, marriage, harmony, peacekeeping. The seventh house, so because it's quite an intense and fiery conjunction, and Vishaka is a fiery nakshatra, so it's quite intense, it can be a little bit destructive, okay? If you are married, if you are in a relationship, try to not lose your cool. If you want to stay in that relationship, if you don't want to stay in that relationship, then you can actually get out of it quite quickly in the next couple of years. So bonds can break because anytime Mars transits the seventh, or especially in the solar return, he tends to break relationships. And he can also repair something, but you have to investigate it. Okay, he rules knives. You have to cut deep inside, go deep within, and see what's actually wrong with that partnership. In terms of businesses, business partnerships, and agreements, things can now break, of course, and you can also encounter competition. Another thing to bear in mind is, if something is revealed, if something comes to light, if someone's been lying, that can also, the sun will light it up and show you. So keep that in mind as well. Another thing I would like to add is the seventh can deal with the recovery of stolen things. So if it's the star of victory that is now present there, you might get something back. So suppose that you are going through divorce proceedings, or you're litigating something with business partners or any type of legality, anything, a landlord, any kind of civil suit, anything like that. Okay, you might come out on top now. You might beat everyone out and it might wrap up in the next couple of years. So you might end up getting a verdict in your favor, a settlement, etc., etc. Okay, but there's a lot to extract from this because it is in the angular houses. So there's always that to consider. And again, if you are single and looking for love, you might encounter some very passionate people and approach it with a little bit of aggression. You might say, the TikTok sound, it's like, it don't matter, it don't matter. Sign this, come sign this, baby girl. You might just be like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Do we want the same things? Are you normal, at least by my standard? Are you coffee or tea drinker? Doesn't matter. Good enough. Let's roll. You might just kind of cut to the chase and not really care very much, but Mars is Mars is very goal oriented anyway, so there could be a level of swiftness, okay? But I don't want to downplay business because the seventh is the 10th from the 10th in Bavam. Therefore, it's also the house of trade. So if you're looking for a job, if you're looking to expand your career, change fields, Mars can help you break loose from any kind of limitation or break out of an old field and into a new one. Okay, so Sun will help because Sun is a career indicator anyways. Okay, you can also find some happiness through other people at this time, but you will approach it fearlessly. So even if there's a challenge, like let's say the seventh is the house of other lands, and it can also indicate travel. It can indicate other lands because it's the farthest from yourself. Okay, it's the farthest. So for you, you're Taurus, you're the first house. The opposite is going to be the seventh. Therefore, if you met someone and they live in another city or they're abroad or you met them on vacation, you went back home, this doesn't deter you. A month ago you might have had some hangups about it, but now you're like, that means nothing. We're in the modern age. We've got WhatsApp. We'll be fine. All right. So good luck to you, Taurus. For Gemini, it's in the sixth house. So this is very fortunate. When malefics transit the sixth, they tend to do a bit better than benefics. Mars does well in the sixth house. Okay, Mars is the indicator of debt. The sixth house is the indicator of debts. So he can help you get rid of something if you really, really focus, because it's a star of victory. So perhaps you get a financial advisor, a budget in place, you figure out restructure your repayment plan to get something done. You might even go into debt maybe to um, secure some kind of property or a lease or some type of real estate, but with Mars there, you might come out on top and be able to pay those things off. He's also the ruler of the sixth and the sixth for Gemini rising. So this can help you find some kind of solution to any kind of ailment, because the sixth house is a disease house. All right, so that could be quite helpful. And in terms of service and responsibility, the sixth house is the house of obligation, usually tends to breed resentment in people when when transits go through there, or if it's very highlighted because people ask a lot of you. So you might get quite a bit done. It is a house that can bring in some type of fortune as well. It's a semi-wealth. It does bring in, it's an Artha house. So you can actually earn. It's a house that where we work for a paycheck. It's like maybe you're not passionate about selling electronic blinds. You push of a button, they come down, like woo, but you can get some killer commission. Maybe you don't know anything about being an energy broker, but hey, you can like figure it out, or being an analyst for this, that, whatever, but you'll get it done. So you might actually figure out a way to make more money. Mars obviously has a lot to do with athleticism. So in the sixth, it's the house of competition. So it can help you if you go to compete, if you're, anything physical, anything trainer, weightlifter, you want to start going to the gym. It's also the house of routine. So if you want to start working out, getting active, the sun is there lending its vitality. That can be quite helpful. So it's looking really good. Also, the sun is the third ruler. The third is also the house of bravery, and it has to do with motion. So, third lord and the sixth can make you extra active. I would suggest that you channel that energy in a way that's really beneficial to you. So, instead of being restless and angry and aggressive, also the six is the house of being accused of something. It's the house of accusation. So if you're wrongfully accused of something, you can defend yourself. You could defend yourself either way, but if you're in the right, you could defend yourself and win. One little thing I would like to add to this is to be really mindful at this time of friends and colleagues, because if you're working in the next couple of years, try to just do everything above board in your place of work. Write everything down. If somebody is like kind of nitpicking or micromanaging or bullying you, make a note of everything. Make a note of absolutely everything, date and time, because those colleagues can turn to enemies really quick. And same goes for friends. Don't delete any messages, screenshot, whatever, because when the 11th ruler, which is our friends and our colleagues, goes into the sixth house, generally, for Gemini risings, that can because Mars rules both the 6th and the 11th. And I have my PDF series on my Etsy. It explains that your friends can turn to enemies very, very quickly. I wish it was the other way around, like enemies to lovers kind of thing. So just be a bit mindful in the next couple of years. That's not to say that you can't trust people, but if you have a track record of someone who's always lying and just distance yourself, because Mars will help cut things out of your life. Okay, just get rid of that. You don't need that in your life. You don't need it in your business. But it's a really good transit for, like I said, coming out on top financially, working on yourself. The sixth is also the house of self-development, self-improvement. So there's no greater love story in the world than the one that you have with yourself. So I'm really, really happy for this. So lucky you, and enjoy the next couple of years. Now for Cancer, this transit is in the fifth house. So the fifth house is children, creativity, creativity. Um, self-expression, enjoyment. It's like fun and lust and parties and stage performance, all that good kind of stuff. If you need to make a serious decision about anything, this is the transit. Anything. It can be buying a house, renovation, it's the house of creative intelligence. So if you want to choose what to study, what to learn, what to teach, okay, it has to do with absorbing information, making good decisions. This is the house of good decision making. You have the star here that's going to help you overcome any obstacles and blockages and pick the right thing. And like I said at the beginning of the video, make a decision and let that decision be your decision. That can be quite helpful now. Now, of course, it's a bit passionate with Mars and Sun there. So if you're interested in dating as a Cancer rising moon, you could really approach it with a specific focus now. So if, say, you've wanted to get married and you have this transit and you've been struggling for a while, now you're a bit of a drill sergeant. What are you about? Where's this going? What are we doing? You're hot, I'm hot. Let's get it popping. No one has time. No one has time. Blah, blah, blah. Tell me about your shows after we're married. We have the rest of our lives to sit on a couch and figure out who likes what on Netflix. No one cares. Let's just get down to City Hall and sign that paper. So you could approach things with certain dedication and absolute focus now, and you're not going to tolerate that sort of like unnecessary drain on your time in terms of courtship and dating. Okay, like the endless texting, chatting, blah, blah, blah. It's like get on the phone for 5 minutes, we fizz or we don't. If we're clicking, you can talk to me in person. Come bearing gifts. Thank you very much. Yeah. So it's also really good transit for doing mantras, second lord and the fifth. If you're looking to pray out loud more, St. Francis says, he who sings prays twice. You could do some singing, some chanting. Um, and you could profit from a hobby, something that you actually like doing, because the second is a wealth house, it's a house of resources, and the fifth is things that we actually enjoy. So you might, have gotten into knitting lately. You could do some knitting, and maybe, I don't know, if you have talent, you can go for it and try to sell it and see what happens. So obviously it's about falling in love. It's quite sentimental. If you already So it's also good for making children. I have to add that. Okay, if you already have children, you might find yourself spending more time with them. Or I would just also say to remember to stay soft, because it can make you a bit rough and agitated when Mars and Sun come together. I have this combination in my birth chart. I have that conjunction. My Mars is combust. So I know when I want something, I'm very intense about it. And I make no apologies for that. I mean, like, who has time to like twiddle their thumbs? I mean, if you want it, just say you want it. What's the shame? So, I mean, you could be a bit like, aggressive or too much of a disciplinarian, a bit of like a dictator. So just take it, like, just remember to stay soft, okay? For Leo, this conjunction takes place in the fourth house of happiness, our mother, our home. The fourth is where things pool and sit still. So it could be quite deep. So that's where we measure our happiness, because it's deep inside of us. It's also where we can save things or store things. Okay. So if you've if you've had to break the habit of clutter or hoarding, this is a good time to do it. Mars can cut that out of your life. Mars is also the indicator of real estate. So it could trigger you to move or make you feel a bit restless. Anytime a malefic passes through the fourth house, if it doesn't make you depressed, it makes you a little bit restless. It also aspects both Sun and Mars are weak in the fourth house. So you might start questioning if you're actually happy in your place of work. My advice to you is to maybe sit still for a few months before you impulse quit your job, because it'll make you quite agitated. Unless, of course, you're not having a good time, you're being bullied, the obvious things. You've got to go. You got to go. But they aspect the 10th. So, give it some thought and like really see, is this right for me? What's my next move? Be strategic about it, because Mars is very strategic. Okay, it's military man. It rules the military, all uniform professions. So in that regard as well, check in on your mom, see how mom is doing. You can revamp your happiness, take control of your life from the inside out. When Mars will remove things that don't need to be there. Scorpio is a very deep sign. So you're not going to approach happiness from a superficial stance. Let's say something like endless shopping. It's like, oh my God, like there's only so many things I can buy before I realize they don't make me happy. So you might declutter and throw things out and say, I just have to sit still. I just have to be at peace, you know? Anything that deals with the fourth house now that wasn't coming through for you can now start to open up. Mars will cut all that away. Sun will shine some light on it. All right. So, another thing, speaking of shining light on it, truths will be revealed because the fourth is deep. Like the 4, 8, 12, especially in the Varshafal, will show something hidden. So something might be unearthed in the next 2 years for you. So I would suggest if you buy a property, get a super inspection on it and then double check everything yourself. There might be something precious in the walls or underneath the house or something like that. And, if you're seeking happiness through relationships or others, don't be scared to ask tough questions to get the answers that you want, to see if your values actually align. If you're looking to move, it could disconnect you from your homeland. It can disconnect you from your heritage or disconnect you where you are in order to move to where your family came from. So you might try to move closer towards your heritage by cutting yourself off from where you currently live. Okay, if that makes sense. And in terms of health as well, yes, that's right. The fourth, some people say it deals with the abdomen. Some people say it deals with the chest. The fourth does deal with the lungs and the abdomen. So if you've had any kind of problems, I would say with Mars there, let's say like you're a smoker, you can quit now. If that's your goal in the next couple of years, you can kick the habit. Digestive issues, also, it's very fiery planet, so it can help balance things out or maybe increase the metabolism, something like that. Another thing to note though is Scorpio can deal with parasites. So if you have issues with that, get some black walnut tincture and obviously go to the doctor. And if you don't, then just be careful. Like if you're traveling, do what you need, anything, precautions, take precautions so that you don't get any problems in that regard. But generally, it will help you get rid of anything in the way of your happiness. All right, that's very important. So, and it wouldn't be bad to sit still and be deep and reflect. Okay, for Leo risings, really think about, what would give you fulfillment truly and deeply. So, best of luck to you. It's looking like a really cool transit, and the angular house is quite important. And again, don't be surprised if you really want to change jobs. Speaking of jobs and hard work, we arrive at the most exciting sign of the zodiac, Virgo. So for Virgo, it's in the third house, and true Virgo fashion, it's not going to be easy, but it's okay. It'll get done, and the reward is always there. Virgos, like other earth signs, don't shy away from hard work. So third house is the house of skill, endurance, and motion. Mars also indicates real estate and third lord in the third. You might want to move. You might feel a bit restless. Aspects the ninth. You might want to take some trips. Also, it's 12th lord in the third. You might want to take trips abroad, somewhere far or near or far. It doesn't really matter. Now, the important thing is the third house does rule the hands, so manual skill. Okay, so you might take up writing, you might take up something creative, you might have extra energy. Another thing is it does rule skill and endurance. The third, because it's endurance, we test our endurance, we test ourselves. The third is the house of test taking. And of course, it aspects the ninth of higher education. So if there is anything that you need to do in the next couple of years, you can absolutely do it with this transit. It's the victorious transit. So if you have to write your exams, this is really, really good news for students, people who need to reach for higher qualifications, training, certifications, credentialing process for their jobs, their careers, their profession. It's absolutely perfect. It's so good. So that's actually very, very exciting. Another thing too is it's the eighth lord in the third house, which is the ultimate sort of combination, especially because it's a malefic. It's the ultimate combination for incredible stamina. Okay, this actually in the natal chart, this indicates a very long lifespan, an unnaturally long life, like over 80 years of age. Okay, so now Virgos could have incredible energy. You might enter into some kind of sport, some sort of physical activities that you've always wanted to try, maybe some type of martial arts, because the third rules the hands, arms, and upper shoulders, and you hit and defend yourself with your arms as a human being. At least I should hope so. My sister does capoeira, so you use your feet too, but you need your arms to prop yourself up on the ground. So you could enter into some type of, martial art, jujitsu, karate, whatever, fencing, throw darts, anything that's sort of active. So you might feel a bit more energized to go for things like that now, but not, but I mentioned test taking, so it could be mentally active as well, because the 12th ruler, Sun, is there with Mars in the third ruler of the third, but the 12th house actually rules studying because you study alone. Okay, you can't be distracted. Deep study, deep reflection is done in the 12th. It's the house of solitude. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But now that we have this combination between 3, 12 aspecting the ninth, like I said, you can really go within and just work wonders. You could write a book now. You could pass medical school, and again, because of the connection between 9 and 12, also anything to do with like visa, customs, okay, residency permits. So all of that, maybe it felt insurmountable previously, but in the next 2 years, don't be surprised if you end up going abroad, okay, especially for work or something like that. But again, if you're feeling restless because it is the house of motion, it's an excellent time to exert your energy physically and mentally. So go out there, journal, read. I've got it right here, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, and do your morning pages. Every morning, got to do your morning pages, okay? So good luck to you, Virgo. How wonderful. For Libra, it's in the second house. So this I'm particularly excited about because my friend had her birthday yesterday. Hey, Helen. And she's a Libra rising. And she's had some change in her job. So what is the second house? The second house is the house of sustenance. It's where you support your physical form. Because the first house is the body. So the second house is after you're born, someone receives the baby and they've got to feed that baby, whether it's the foster care system, adoptive parents, your actual parents, your grandparents, but someone's got to feed that child for it to live. So we nourish ourselves, we eat. And when we're old enough, we tell people what we want to eat. And when we're even older than that, we tell people we need work and we make money and buy food. So we support ourselves in the second house. It props up the first. So in this case, it's also the house of resources. So anybody that's a Libra rising, now, if you're looking to change jobs, looking to have a side hustle, okay, I don't know why I came out that way. Looking to have a side hustle, looking for ways to make more money. This is extremely victorious. Okay, you might actually do very well. You might surprise yourself. So give it a couple of years, but you will definitely land on your feet. I feel very, very optimistic about this. Also because the seventh lord is in the second. So you might leave a career. Okay, they're both Maraka houses. You might decide, you don't want to be in this industry. You don't want to be in this field. Or something might just surprise you, because Vishaka is also notoriously kind of difficult to predict for because it's forked and it's really unstable and volatile. Ask my mental health, So it might take you by surprise, but let it take you by surprise, because with this transit, it rules the voice. Okay, the second house is speech, so you might surprise yourself. You start advocating for yourself. You start giving out interviews. You go, wow, I didn't even think I could do that. I didn't think I could be a corporate trainer or salesperson or an advocate for this, that, the other, but look at me go, okay? So this is very, very positive. One thing I would say is check in on your parents. The second house is immediate family, like our parents. Check in on them, of course. And if you were hoping to break any type of habit like a diet, if you want to eat more healthy, feel better about yourself physically, change, one good tip for people who have malefics in the second natally is to try to eat better, less processed foods. And I say this in all my readings. I'm not a hypocrite. I love Wendy's. I love Wendy's. I love A&W onion rings, like all of that. I don't eat it every day. It sounds odd, but it has a direct effect on how we manifest and create our lives, what we put into our bodies. And I have an afflicted second house. So if you're mindful, then you can actually like cut out things that don't need to be there, because nature abhors a vacuum. It'll bring in wealth. Okay. And that includes speech. So, quite truly, and Scorpio is one of the karmic signs. So, if you gossip, you criticize unduly harshly, okay, for no reason, okay, if you, throw the evil eye, but speaking, gossip, curse words for all Libra risings, especially with this transit, cut that out now because it can actually affect how you make money. So speak blessings over your life. Okay, but the power of your tongue, you have to make sure that you bless your life now, because if you choose, Vashaka's forked, if you choose the other path where you continue to speak nonsense over yourself, you're going to get more nonsense for sure. Okay, so try to be kind and gentle with yourself, and definitely try to speak well over others. But anyways, another reason I'm really, really happy for this is it's the 11th ruler sun, 11th lord in the second, the two Dana houses forms a Dana yoga. This is very, very good for wealth. So it can show an increase in earnings, so a promotion, a steady increase in pay. Okay, if you leave a job, you negotiate better salary, better benefits, vacation, all of that. Okay, your pension will thank you. So it's such a good money transit for Libra risings now, late 2023, for the next couple of years. So it's looking very favorable and fortunate. Just remember to cut out saying things that do not need to be said. Enjoy, Libra. Scorpio, just like Aries, one of them, obviously it's in your sign. So this transit, incredibly intense. Intense. Especially if you have anything between, I would say within 5 degrees, 20, 25, 29, 20 to 29 degrees of Scorpio. So it's happening in your first house of the body, self-image, the head. The first house is anything that actually shows up or appears on your physical form. So much like Aries, I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to just get this out of the way. It's the sixth lord in the first. The sixth rules diseases. So something might show up on your body if you have struggled for some time with like rashes. I mentioned, I have this nakshatra, and for some strange reason, for about 3.5 weeks, every other day I would wake up with an allergic reaction, but I didn't know what I was allergic to. I bet, and I'm not in like a new environment per se, but I would have like rashes on my neck, my chest, my face, and I was like, I just don't know what it is. Like, I've tried like 3 creams from the pharmacy. I'm started taking pills, and I thought, what is going on? I was like, oh my God, that's right. Like sixth lord in the first, it showed up on my body. So if you had like something like acne, eczema. I have eczema as well. Anything like that, rashes, allergic reactions, that can happen now. So make sure that you get to the cause of it and treat it. Don't let it hang around. Don't let it become chronic. Let Mars cut that out of your life. Mars in the first always tends to make people a little bit intense, a little bit energetic. So the sixth is the competitive house. Get that out of your system. Get some exercise in, swim in the morning, go on some walks, whatever. So because it also deals with not feeling so hot, I would say if you're going to do anything a little bit risky, take any type of precaution that you need to, like safety gear and listening to people's instructions and such and such. Now, in terms of cutting things out of your life and this being a very victorious, conquering kind of energy, I do have to say the sixth house is the house of accusations, divorce, litigation, enemies, competition, all of that stuff. To some extent, the first house also deals with this. The first house is one's ability or capacity to handle hardship. This is where you're born. Once you're born, you're made manifest. Even as a baby, your body has some type of natural intelligence. It can fend off of infection. Your first 6 months of your life, you're pretty much immune to most things. Okay. So therefore, during this time, I mean, this is the indication of the first house. If you are susceptible to absolutely everything, you don't stand a chance at survival. You don't stand a chance. So it has some connotation to grit, fortitude, self-defense mechanism, not just physical, mental, everything. Okay. Because you have to survive in the world to be embodied, to actually be here. That's what the first house is. It signals that you've arrived on earth. You've made it in. You've paid your $5 cover and gotten a stamp, and you've walked in. For some reason, we chose to be here. Here we are. So it's your capacity to overcome hardship. Okay, so now the sixth ruler is that in a much more intense dose. So now that we've got that connection between 6 and 1, If there has been anything, like if you're going through divorce, if you're going through a breakup, problem with your landlord, civil litigation, this, that, the other, now you can really focus, but you must focus. That's what Vashaka is. It's like taking care of business and standing on your word. You give your word, you're gonna, like, I'm gonna fight you, it means I'm gonna fight you. It's like, or like, I don't want to fight you, leave me alone. Leave me alone, or I'm gonna counter sue. Leave me alone, or now you're gonna make me fight you, So handling anything needs to be handled. The first can also transform your life. You can become a new you, have a new image. So if you're looking for a glow up, if you're looking for a, what are they called? I don't know. You want to be a new you want to revamp this, that, the other. This is very, very possible now, okay? So good luck to you. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I'm really, really loving it. Another thing I have to add here is it's a very good, I have this video, Success in Astrology, on YouTube already, but 10th ruler in the first is just a really good transit for success. So we have Sun in the first house with the first lord. If you're gunning for a promotion, you're looking to increase your status in the world, you want to change your status, you want to go from being a lady to a mother, a man to a husband, changing your address, changing your residential status in a new country, whatever, all right, whatever. Tax bracket, you want to change that, hallelujah. Okay, so all these things become possible now because of Star of Victory. But the thing is, again, you have to put in the energy, you have to put in the work. But it's pretty good. Like, it's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm really, really loving that for you. I think it's great. And just again, think back to anything that happened in the last 18 months. And if you haven't finished any type of business, then get to it. Lastly, I want to say the sixth house also rules routines and self improvement, self development. Mars is obviously quite energetic, quite athletic. So if you were hoping to discharge some type of debt, cut stress out of your life, take on exercise routines, some type of, I don't know, meal, I don't meal plan, but meal, chickpea this and that, lentils. Okay, meal plan something so that you can feel better, transform your body, transform your life. All that is possible. So Scorpios are definitely going to undergo the most kind of intense transformation for these next 2 years. It's very, very faded. It's a very karmic sign. So hopefully all good things. All right. So wishing you all the best. Now we arrive at Sagittarius, where this conjunction takes place in the 12th house. Mars going through the 12th generally tends to rob people of their sleep. So hopefully, what you could do is, let's say it's also the house of dreams. If you have a dream that you would like to fulfill and make manifest, well, with Mars there, you can now put in the energy to focus on that. Okay, before anything comes into the world, it's nothing but an idea at some point. Everything starts off as an idea or a thought. So if you've always had a dream about something, then it's very possible that now you've entered into a phase of your life, you can start piecing things together and putting a plan into place to make it happen, whether it's a business, a relationship, a home renovation, whatever, especially if it has to do with going abroad. Okay, so that's looking quite good. Okay, solitude, study. Okay, so being alone, reflecting, all that stuff, it's a very interesting house. It has to do with things that we can't really see. When you go really deep into it, maybe even something like well, we can't see our ancestors, we can't see our past, we can't see what we were. So maybe, and it is the house of dreams, maybe you want to do some kind of hypnosis or regression or get a dream journal and study it. Okay, the 12th is the house of study because you need to be alone to concentrate on something. So going deep and reflecting, and Scorpio is the deepest sign, and Mars is a sign that rules surgeons. He's the blade, so he cuts. He rules chefs too, barbers. So you cut underneath. You want to see what's beneath your psyche and figure it out. All right. So it could even be quite playful or interesting transit for people who are looking for a deeper physical experience, or couples, for example, because it's the fifth ruler in the 12th. All right, so sense of playfulness, and the 12th house has to deal with lying around in bed and seeking pleasure that is not very visible or obvious. All right, so it's sort of behind closed doors, or it should be behind closed doors if you like your privacy, to each their own. And you could have a much more exciting experience. Now it's also interesting because it has the ninth ruler in the 12th as well. And the 5th and the ninth both deal with children. So you might plan to or advertently or inadvertently end up conceiving. You never know, because they're both of those things have to do with making children. The ninth is also long distance travel, customs, okay, visas, things like legalities. And the 12th is far, far away places, so foreign lands or contact to any kind of foreign people. So if you're looking to move abroad for Sagittarius risings, this is pretty spectacular. If you're looking to take a vacation or go to retreat, like a silent retreat or a yoga retreat, or just hang out, chill out for a long period of time, you could do that. If you work remotely, you want to take off for a while, that's cool too. Another thing is if you don't intend to travel, what you could do is have a little bit more reach with foreign audiences or companies, the international arm or branch of a company, something like that. So work-wise, that could also be a potential area of your life that you could see some expansion, improvement, or progress in. So that's very, very cool. I'm loving that. One thing I would like to add is to check in on your dad, because in Vedic astrology, the ninth house is the father, because the father is seen as like the teacher or the spiritual leader of one's household. So the ninth house rules gurus, people who are knowledgeable. So in any type of thing, but especially beliefs, like spiritual belief. So it's also really interesting time you might connect with, deeper beliefs. Okay, something like that. And anyways, so in that case, when the ninth ruler goes in the 12th house of loss, we want to check on our parents. Okay, you want to check on your dad. So make sure he's okay, because the sun rules dad anyways, and the ninth house rules the dad. So now that it's in the 12th house, it indicates the ninth. You want to make sure that dad is doing okay and tell him not to do anything super risky. All right, for Capricorn, this takes place in the 11th house. The 11th is a wealth house. It's steady increasing wealth, so it's slow increasing. So an upachaya house. So things like investments that go up over time, things that increase in value, that are precious, that takes time, and our paycheck, because it increases gradually, doesn't just, I wish there was such a thing as income inflation, but it doesn't seem to work that way. When I'm queen, this is going to be edict, okay? So in any case, you could see with 11th ruler in the 11th, you could see, and it's a star of victory, an increase. You might actually get the type of paycheck that you want. If you're negotiating a salary, you might well get it. All right. You might say, I'm tired. We're not playing games anymore. Give me what I want. You might also profit from unexpected things. Okay. You could profit from things you didn't really expect, or to put it even better, trade secrets, especially if you have niche knowledge on some topic that other people generally don't really know about, something that's kind of hidden or specific to you. Why not even something like you go to an antique store or yard sale, garage sale, thrift shop? You might in the next couple years stumble upon something that's worth quite a bit. Maybe you know it or not, and then it turns out that, hey, this has been appreciating over time and I should sell it now. Maybe you listen to this video. You remember you had something in a closet from 5 years ago. Maybe you bought it for 50 bucks. It's worth 500 today. Okay. But in any case, also eighth ruler in the 11th is interesting, because the eighth house is the 10th from the 11th. So generally, that's kind of where people profit from their clientele. So if you do anything where you have something like clients, private audiences, patients who come to you, whatever you do, Reiki, you are a dentist, I don't know, you do consultations, you're self-employed, you could see a spike in the number of people who come to you at this time. The 11th is also your colleagues, people that you associate within groups. So if you're part of like a volleyball team or badminton, okay, try not to lose your temper, try not to squabble, because this can make you quite fiery. Vasaka is quite fiery in nature and warlike, so try not to argue with people, fight with people unnecessarily. Okay, of course you can defend yourself, but there's no need to kind of like lose your cool and all that. Another thing is, it's the house of being recognized by your peers, and because peers, and because it's in Vishaka, I predict Capricorn ascendants have the highest chance in the next 2 years of winning an award through their work, being recognized for something, their contribution to their field, winning something at the office, I don't know, Miss Congeniality, best Christmas cake, whatever. Okay, so just imagine your name on a plaque, okay, or an award. I think that there's a really good probability that you might get it. You might have some investments that really take off and surprise you, and you're quite pleased with them. You might also see your property increase in value as well. So if you haven't had your property appraised in some time, what are you waiting for? You never know. In this economy, go for it. Okay, Aquarius is in the 10th house. So again, quite important. It's in an angular house. The 10th is the house of status, the results of your effort. So your career, the results of your career, will you actually be successful? And so the 7th is the house of trade. And so Sun rules the 7th, goes into the 10th now. Sun and Mars both have directional strength in the 10th house, known as Digbala. Sun is strong in the sign of Scorpio. It's a Mars ruled sign. Obviously, Mars is strong in the sign of Scorpio. It's its own sign. So this combination is going to make Aquarius ascendants really, and moons really determined to succeed. If you want to change jobs, change industry, field, profession, whatever, you might just do it. Like I think you will, honestly, because it's such a fiery combination. Again, try not to fight with anyone at work. It could give problems with authority figures. Authority figures, somebody, if you've had trouble with your boss, you might leave that job. Your boss might leave that job. And in my sincerest wish, you become your boss's boss. Okay. Throw your power around, but you might end up being promoted to a great degree, starting your own company, being self-employed. When Sun is in the 10th house, usually it's people who do well to they self-govern very, very well. Wherever the Sun is, you don't tend to cooperate well with other people. So that's why people with Sun in the 7th house, in relationships, they have a bit of power struggle. So I mean, in the 10th house, it's good because it's your career. You can say, I actually know what I'm doing now. I feel ready. I've been prepared for this. I've been preparing for this. I am prepared. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this, or my side business or something like that. Okay. So you might come to find you're quite pleased with the way things go. Another thing too is it's the third ruler in the 10th. The third house is the house of endurance, skill, test taking, being tested, defending yourself, okay, striking an opponent. So it's quite competitive house. It's also the house where we see our effort. It's called self-effort, your willpower. You put that in the 10th, you can pretty much do anything. It's the 10th ruler. It's well placed. Like I said, it's also the 7th lord there. So a really, really powerful transit for the next couple of years, dealing in career advancement. Now, you might say, I have no desire for a career, but it's your status in the world. So suppose you want to, be the most involved parent at the PTA meetings, at the bake sales, or you want to start an organization, you want to do something that has, you want to live and lead a purpose driven life. It's a very good time to put things into motion. Okay, because Mars will help organize you now as the third ruler and the 10th ruler, and help propel your image, propel your popularity, be heard, express yourself, put yourself out there. Okay. People might just hear about you. When I see this, and like if you're looking for love, you're looking to date, 7th ruler and the 10th, I say you can meet people through work. Of course, everybody says that, but they might just hear about you. That's also happened. I remember one or two of my clients, they were like, oh, I never worked. I just like manifest things. I don't work. I was like, how'd you meet your fiance? And she went, oh my God, you're right. He heard about me. He heard about me. One of my friends, they're a couple, they were talking, and he went like, "Oh, I like the sound of her. Is she single?" They went, "Yes, she is." Just heard about me. So people could just hear about you. They could just go, "Yeah, I want to know what that person's about. What are they getting into? I want to check this out. I want to see what they do. I want to see who they are. I want to invest. I want to learn about them. I want to fall in love with them." You never know. Okay, so really interesting. So anytime it's like anything happens in the angles is quite important. But this is a very visible house, has a lot to do with what's going to determine what people see about you, you know? So a lot to do with what associates to your own identity. Okay, so if you're looking to launch a blog, quit a job, live a quiet life, whatever makes you happy, you have a very, very powerful chance of advancing that now. So good luck. And I don't know why this picture, the Aquarius hands are holding a flame. Am I missing something? I don't know. All right, Pisces. The ultimate, my dear sweet Pisces, my sex, drugs, and rock and roll of astrology. Here we go. This transit takes place in the, that says ninth house. Education, father, belief, long distance travel. Also, secondary house of children, lest we forget. Certification, training, all legalities, all kind of documentation. I mentioned visas, leases, landlord agreements, anything that's binding, legally binding, anything that has to do with the law. It is the house of the law as well, universal and man-made laws. So interesting house. It has a lot to do with fulfillment of destiny. So it's quite intense. So if there's anything that you've wanted to do that would determine, you know, what would give you purpose, what would fulfill you in a really deep way, this is a good transit. And this even includes letting go of what wouldn't, because Mars can remove things. And the reason I really specify the belief and the learning is something like false teachers. Or if you're in university and you just have a professor that you don't really click with, I mean, that's happened to me many times. Take your books home, teach yourself. Just teach yourself, just on your own time. Okay, go on YouTube. Or when I wasn't, that wasn't a thing when I was coming up, like in school, but now you can, go find someone online who puts out tutorials on whatever, engineering or natural chemistry, whatever. Okay, I don't knitting, and teach yourself. Don't torture yourself with people who don't wish you well. In the ninth house, also it can give trouble with authority as well. So if you're having issues at work, try not to, unless you want to quit. Otherwise, try not to take it too personally, be bothered, and all that stuff. So try not to argue or step in it or something like that. That's what I would say. Now, it is possible you can feel a bit feisty in terms of making babies. You might, talk about children, wanting children. That's very possible. Taking trips, of course, that's possible. I think another thing that's interesting is you could find yourself talking about things that you believe. So, I mean, if you want to start a podcast, get a radio radio show, your own radio station, something to do with voicing things. You might even start praying out loud, singing devotional music. That might be something uplifting for you at this time. So don't be surprised if that is the case. Another thing I would add is if you are married, you could run into wanting to restructure your day to day life in terms of routine, things that people find kind of mundane. I often find when transit like this happens, or if you see it in the natal chart, that the person's biggest problem in a relationship is just those little day-to-day things. So if you want to keep your relationship intact, have those conversations and say, I don't fold socks because it's like something that sets my soul on fire. I do it because we can't just throw things around. So can you meet me halfway, or can we hire someone to be a laundry maid? I don't want to do this, instead of throwing out the relationship. Unless you really want to throw out the relationship, you can. So it's a really good time to restructure your routine in a way that will fulfill you for years to come in all things. Okay, it can be relationship, but it can just be your own day-to-day life if you're single. If you're looking for a relationship and you are single currently, then bear in mind to upfront, as early as you can, discuss that sort of, just the sort of daily stuff, the monotony of the physical world. Where do you want to live? Do you want kids? Do you drive? Do you have a license? Are you going to get your license? Whatever that is, like, how are we going to do our taxes? What's your idea on partnership? What do you mean that's yours and that's mine? If we're married, we're married. It's ours. There's none of that. There's none of that. You make this, I make that, or you cook this much, I cook. Like, we need to be fed. We need to buy food. We're coming together or we're not, so you just want to you want to be able to put that out there so that you don't get yourself into a serious, especially like legally binding relationship, like a marriage or the signing of a lease or an actual child. Like I don't mean like flings and short-term things. I mean very, very deep, serious commitment without discussing those things. All right. So I have to mention that that is something that I could see being what you transform now. That you say, I never used to ask those things because I was scared I was going to look crazy. But then at the end, I would wait 6 months or 6 years. And at the end, that's what broke us, you know? So now you're kind of coming in a little bit strong and true Vasaka nature. You're in Scorpio nature and you're cutting out what doesn't need to be there. You're saying, look, I can ha ha he have fun and giggle all day long with anyone because I'm fun. But do you make my life fun? All right. So for Pisces risings, you're going to kind of raise that physical or earthly standard for your partnerships and say, if this isn't fulfilled, I don't think I can fall in love with you or something like that. And you might even want to attract people who are similar to you in value and belief. So maybe, your whole life you weren't really spiritual or something or religious. And now you're like, actually, you know what? It's easier to live life with someone who's more aligned with my values, whatever they are. Maybe you care about the same causes, the environment, animals, human rights, or maybe you want to pray together. A couple who prays together stays together. Maybe you're both non-believers, maybe blah, 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 whatever, right? Maybe your passion is travel or food. So you might invite that into your life now. But one thing you have to do is work on that. You have to work on yourself and put it out there. And another thing you have a possibility to do as well is make money abroad, okay? Or make money through teaching, make money through broadcasting somehow, publishing, okay? Maybe book, pay off some debts, publish something, a blog, a hot Twitter account that takes off, you end up getting some sponsors or something like that could kind of happen to you. So enjoy a lot to do with learning, like I mentioned, certification, qualifications, training, credentialing, increase of your skills. Or you might be doing some teaching as well. You might become more independent, reach a new level in your knowledge and therefore career, and you're able to disperse knowledge to others and make some money in the process, help you pay down some debts. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. You can find me on Instagram at Guru Grid. I mean, what a surprise. It's the same across the board. TikTok, Guru Grid Astrology. I'm on Patreon where I teach and we hang out, talk about all things occult and astrology. And it is like my digital diary. So there's all kinds of things on there. Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, Neville Goddard. We're doing a Neville Goddard series currently, all kind of book reviews. gurugridinfo@gmail.com. I'm doing readings through my Etsy page at the minute still. I still have some readings available, so you can book me on there. And if you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram or email me on, gurugridinfo@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful 2 years ahead. Stay safe and don't miss this opportunity to work really, really hard and get the results that you know you deserve because it's very, very karmic. So I do hope that you come out on top. I hope we all win. And no one has to lose for anyone else to win. So just keep the moral high road and keep that light shining bright. Thank you all so much. Bye for now.